I'm Alison.
And you're listening to the Blume Saloon.
It's a Judy Blume book club.
We're back!
And we got a new book.
Oh my god.
It feels so good to be back in the Blume Coccoon. I'm so happy to be here. It feels good, even though it's 1,000,000 degrees out.
It is so hot. You guys, I would estimate it feels like 95 degrees in here.
The Bay Area is not set up to function with just this much heat.
Nobody has air conditioning.
It's horrible.
We just lose our cool. Oh.
We totally lose our cool. It's been a cruel summer. And
I'm knocking on heaven's door. I don't know. I'm just thinking of song titles.
Doesn't matter if it makes sense.
Yeah.
Just knock, 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 knocking on heaven's door.
Yeah, you really nailed that one. Nice job.
That was good. I'm just so eloquent.
Well, I'm telling you, it's this heat. There's nothing like a stale, sticky air, sweltering heat to make your brain go to mush.
No, it's all I can think about. I just sit in the cold bath.
And you're very pregnant.
I'm so pregnant. I'm so swollen. I've got Shrek feet and hands. But I'm actually reading this book that made me think a lot about Judy Blume. It's not by Judy Blume.
What? You're reading a book that's not by Judy
I know.
Blume?
It's actually about, it's a nonfiction account of having a baby by Anne Lamott called Operating Instructions. And it's all her, her first year of being a single mother and raising a baby in the Bay Area in like 1989. And it's just really good, but it kind of reminds me of a nonfiction version of a grown-up, Are You There, God, It's Me, Margaret.
Interesting.
Yeah, like daily musings. It's a lot of her inner monologue. She is kind of talking about God and Jesus in a lot of it. Mm-hmm. But then also like raising this baby and not knowing what to do with it.
Bumbling along, kind of.
Yeah, and so I kind of love it when I look at it from that angle.
And I bet the fact that it was written in 1989 in the Bay Area kind of gives you some cool glimpses into...
Oh, totally. Because I was a small child in 1989 in the Bay Area, but... like she's home when there's the big earthquake, and the A's and the Giants are playing the World Series.
Oh,
and
yeah. I remember watching that on TV.
Yeah, it was wild.
Were you living here then?
Yeah, we lived up in Petaluma.
So did you feel it up there?
Yes, we did. I don't remember feeling it. I think the story has it I was like swinging on a swing outside. And once I couldn't be bothered, like I was shaking around anyways.
Right.
But my great-grandmother was visiting, and my grandparents lived here at the time, and she was sitting in a rocking chair, and she thought that my grandpa was just, like, standing behind her shaking the chair. And my other aunt lived in the city, and so they couldn't get a hold of her for, like, a day because phone lines were all down. It was wild.
Oh, that must have been so scary.
But, yeah, I had little Margaretisms. What'd you do this weekend?
Well, I saw you yesterday.
That's true.
Today... I almost set the house on fire with my MacBook Pro charger sparking sparks.
What?
Sparking sparks.
What?
You guys, I just want to turn this into a PSA because you have to be careful. I usually plug my laptop in and charge it overnight. But for whatever reason, I didn't do it last night. I forgot to. And so thankfully it wasn't plugged in all night. Plugged it in first thing this morning and sparks shot out of the area where the cable meets the box.
What?
They're notorious for just kind of coming loose and exposing the wire underneath. Have you ever experienced that with yours?
No.
So mine had been a little loose, but I just wrapped it up in electrical tape and called it a day. And that sufficed for a few months. But I guess I'm no electrician. I didn't do a great job.
That seems dangerous. And
It's
I feel like you
dangerous.
could sue Apple.
Well, I went to the Apple store and I was so flustered because I'd already been to Target because that was closer and I just assumed they would have a MacBook Pro charger there, but they didn't. They had a different version. So by the time I got to fucking Emeryville Apple store.
Oh my God, you went there today?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes. And I just walked in and I held up the charger that was all like frizzled and like, I almost burned my house down with this.
I just imagine you like Say Anything style, just like holding it up over your head.
Yes.
Like, I'm here.
I should have sang a song.
Burning down the house.
Oh my God, that's so good.
And did they give you a new one? Did they make you pay for a new one?
They made me pay $80 for a new one.
Oh, man.
So maybe I should sue Apple for $80.
I think so.
Okay.
I know we have some Bloomhead lawyers.
Oh, yeah.
If you can help us out, let us know how we can sue Apple.
We have a contingency.
That's right. We could start a little law firm.
Yes.
With our Bloomheads.
Blume, and Blume. How do you like that?
I like it a lot.
We haven't mentioned this yet, but we are reading Then Again, Maybe I Won't.
The sassiest title ever.
Tony's so sassy.
He's so sassy. The first paragraph is
Yeah.
really so good and so sassy. And I was like, oh, I am really ready for this.
Yes.
This is quite a change from Sweet Little Margaret.
Because neither Alison nor I have read this book, so this is all new to us.
Mm-hmm.
Very exciting. As we've done with the two other books we've read, we wanted to give you a little background on 1971.
Let's set the scene. Jody has a special report on 1971.
So, would you like to know what world events were happening in 1971?
Oh, hell yeah.
So, Charles Manson and his followers, the girls, Squeaky, From, and someone Atkins.
The other ones, yeah.
They received the death penalty for, of course, the murder of Sharon Tate and about 6 or 7 others. So they went to prison.
So they were sentenced with a death penalty. They didn't receive it.
They were sentenced with a death penalty, but it was ruled unconstitutional in California in 1972, a year later. I don't support the death penalty, but it would have been nice if Charles Manson had actually not squeezed through by the...
Yes and no. I mean, like, there's, like, the most bizarre, like, shit still happening in prison. Like, the woman that was trying to scam him just recently.
I don't know about that.
Oh, yeah. So he had, like, a lady that was named Star something, and she would go and visit him, and they became engaged. But then it all ended up being, like, a scam. Like, they're trying to scam Charles.
All right, I'm glad we kept him alive just for the jailhouse drama.
Oh, yeah. He's bananas, obviously.
Yeah. The first NPR broadcast went on the air. It was coverage of the Senate hearings of the Vietnam War.
Ah.
Disney World opened in Orlando.
Oh, wow. I thought it was earlier, but that's interesting to know it was like a real 70s thing.
Right, it totally was. Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
Well, I remember we were there in, I guess it must have been 1986, because all the photos of us posing in front of, Epcot and everything, it's like 15-year anniversary.
Oh.
Yeah. The voting age was lowered to 18.
Oh, that's cool.
People had wanted that for a while since the draft was lowered to 18 in World War II. So they were like, fuck this.
You can't even vote about whether or not you're going to war.
Yes. So that was a good thing. 1971 was also known as the dawn of the digital age because the microprocessor was invented.
I knew that.
Yeah.
I knew that because of a project I'm working on right now.
Really?
I know a lot about all the microprocessor history right now.
Well, did you know that Texas Instruments released the first pocket calculator in 1971?
I have a general understanding of 70s computer technology right now.
Do you have any other fun facts to share with us?
A really cool thing about the microchip is that Intel was hired by a company called Busicom to make actually 12 different chips that did 12 different things. But they were like just switching from RAM to like microchips. We don't really actually even have the money or the resources to do this, but let's go for it. And they ended up just making the microprocessor, which does the 12 different functions of the microchip. Different microchips so that you could do a bunch of different things.
That's so crazy. What if it had gone the other way and everyone had to have 12 different devices for 12 different...
Oh my God, there's so much. If that hadn't happened,
right,
like we would be in a totally different place. Like that is why we don't have computers the size of rooms anymore.
I thought this was interesting. Being in advertising, Alison, maybe you know this, but cigarette advertising was banned on TV in 1971, but not in print. So the final commercial for cigarettes aired on the Johnny Carson show, like January 1st, 1971.
Like the Camel Man or something?
I don't know. I think we're gonna have to look into that. Maybe we'll play a little clip.
Yeah.
You've come a long way, baby, to get where you got to today.
Virginia Slims. This is the taste for today's woman. With rich Virginia flavor you like. Tailored slim for your hands, for your lips. Virginia Slims.
You got Virginia Slims now, baby. You come a long, long way.
Jim Morrison was found dead in his bathtub in Paris, 27 years old.
27?
Mm-hmm. I visited his grave.
In Paris?
Yeah. I mean,
wow.
years and years ago. Quite the tourist attraction.
Did it have all kinds of like beads and stuff?
Yeah, a lot of
Roses.
tchotchkes, knickknacks, and who else was buried there? Oscar Wilde. Same cemetery. Popular toys of 1971. I thought this might be fun. Malibu Barbie.
Oh, yeah.
The Etch-a-Sketch. Operation, the game.
I love Operation.
Me
It's one of my
too.
all-time faves.
Oh, but it makes me so nervous.
It's so anxiety-inducing.
Yeah. Battleship.
Ooh, Battleship's a good one.
I feel like you and James play a lot of Battleship. I can just picture you guys sitting at your dining room table being like, F1.
Well, that's what was kind of weird is that when you mentioned Battleship, I did go, I don't play that, but that would actually be kind of fun.
Yeah, it is really fun.
I actually really like Guess Who.
Me too.
Thinking about games that you play back and forth.
Love Guess Who. I had Travel Guess Who.
Ooh, a little one?
Yeah.
Oh.
And then Hot Wheels, ubiquitous for
tiny cars.
yeah.
Ubiquitous in the world of tiny cars.
Infamous, iconic, classic.
Ooh, Hot Wheels.
Hot Wheels.
Leading the way. Isn't that what they said?
I don't know.
And
And there's also
just a lot of
Cruising through this Hot Wheels town. Gotta get going, gotta get down to that Hot Wheels.
movies. Do you want to know about movies?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the top 10 movies of 1971.
Can I guess number one?
Yes.
Because I looked at a list earlier, and I just want to see if it's the same.
Yeah.
Clockwork Orange?
No, mine's
Oh.
different. Wow.
Wow.
I wouldn't have thought these would be debatable, but I guess so.
Well, maybe it wasn't so much top as like highest rated movie of 1971.
I think this list I have was highest grossing.
Ah.
Maybe your list was like best movies.
No, I think that's probably right.
All right, well, Fiddler on the Roof is number
I
one.
see that.
Number two, The French Connection.
Mm-hmm.
I actually never saw that.
I just know the store. Isn't it a store?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I've never
Great
seen
tops.
the movie. Maybe we'll have to watch that one.
No, it's definitely a classic, and it was the first R movie to win Best Picture.
Oh, wow.
Diamonds Are Forever. James Bond is number 3. Number 4, Dirty Harry.
Yeah, Clint Eastwood was big in 71.
Mm-hmm. And that was in San Francisco, right?
Dirty Harry is, yeah.
Okay. And that movie, that set the stage for a slew of cop films of the era. That was kind of the first one. Number 5, I don't know this one. Billy Jack.
Oh, I've seen Billy
You
Jack.
have?
Billy Jack is weird. It was always on Encore when I was young. He's like a weird cowboy man, but like a modern cowboy man traveling around. He's like a vigilante kind of man. It's a very
Vigilante
weird.
Cowboy Man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That sounds great. Number 7, Last Picture Show. Jeff Bridges and Sybil Shepherd. So this was the era of like the haughty Sybil Shepherd, the haughty Candace Bergen.
Yes.
Because Carnal Knowledge is number 8.
Ooh.
And then number 9 is Clockwork Orange.
Mm-hmm.
Number 10, Bedknobs and Broomsticks.
Right. The musical is just really bookending this list.
Angela Lansbury and David Tomlinson, a.k.a. the dad from Mary Poppins.
Yeah, this British people.
Yeah. And then other noteworthy movies that didn't make the top 10 were Harold and Maude.
It's a great one. So weird. So good.
Willy Wonka. Why did that not make the top 10?
Maybe there's like a weird story to like Willy Wonka, like it didn't get big till later.
Yeah, maybe. And then Panic in Needle Park. Have you ever seen that?
No.
That's really good. It's Al Pacino, and it's like I just love any movie that takes place in New York in the 70s.
Oh, I'm a really big fan of Taxi Driver and
Yes.
Dog Day Afternoon are two of my favorites.
Oh, well, you got to watch this. It's all
Yeah.
about drug addicts, New York City in the 70s.
I love
Al
grimy
Pacino.
New York City.
Mm-hmm. Check it out.
Everything's like got a yellow tinge and they're just like smoking cigarettes and cussing and strutting around.
It's like burnt out buildings and trash in the streets.
I'm so into it. Prostitutes.
Times Square with all the pornos.
I should say sex workers.
And then now onto TV. Some of these we've already gone over when we discuss Margaret's era.
So they were big in 1970.
Mm-hmm. So number 1 is All in the Family. And this one's new for 1971 because it was a first season and it was like a runaway hit. But number 2, we've already talked about the Flip Wilson Show.
Right.
Which I still haven't seen, but I know now that it's a talk show. And it was actually really, they had a lot of great guests, very popular and very
What a
funny.
name, Flip Wilson.
Yeah. Oh, name your baby Flip Wilson.
Oh, that's good.
It's not too late.
It's not too late. Little Flip Wilson, Michael Stevens.
And then number 3, fucking Marcus Welby, MD, will not go away.
Who was watching it? Who? Was MASH still big in 1971? No, it was gone.
Well, it wasn't in the top 8. I don't know why I didn't go to top 10, only top 8.
You know,
like,
just the hot top 8 list.
like MySpace top 8. Number 4, Gunsmoke. Number 5, Stanford and Son. Now, these are a couple I haven't heard of. Number 6, Mannix. Mannix.
No, but I like the sound of it. It's a detective show?
I don't know. Gotta look into this one. Number 7, Funny Face.
Oh, well, I thought Barbara Streisand, isn't that a movie? Is it a TV show?
Funny Girl.
Oh,
Am I wrong?
What is Funny Face?
I don't know.
Oh, we'll have to dive in deeper.
We'll
I think we'll explore this over the course of, and then again, maybe I won't.
Then again, maybe I won't.
Oh, then again, maybe I won't. I'm not going to be able to.
And then again, maybe it is.
And then again.
And then number 8 is Adam 12. Have you heard of that one?
No, but is it about a robot?
Oh, probably.
I hope so. I like guessing what they're about.
It's like Johnny 5 and Adam 12 are best buds.
Exactly.
Oh, this is so sad, Allison. The Lawrence Welk Show, I know you love Lawrence Welk,
Bubbles.
was canceled in 1971.
I say thank goodness. There weren't more episodes of that for me to be tortured with as a child.
There were plenty for syndication. And then CBS was infamous for canceling every show that had a tree in it. So that was Green Acres, Beverly Hillbillies, Hee Haw, and the Mayberry RFD show, which was the
had a tree
spin-off.
in it.
It was all those country shows that were really big in the
country show,
like a country show, you know, like
with the hillbilly people living crazy lives.
They eschewed the country shows and they brought in the gritty city shows.
Oh, got more urban.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
just saw like people with like feathered hair just like turning corners real fast.
Yes. And then I thought we would move on to some folks who were born in 1959, which is when Tony Miglione? Tony Miglione?
Tony Miglione, and this is a very Italian family.
Yeah.
His mother's name is Carmela.
Oh, so good. So Tony Miglione would have been born in 1959, and also born in 59 were Simon Cowell, Magic Johnson, Dave Coulier. Cut it out.
See, when I think of him, I just think of him taking Alanis Morissette's Virginity.
Oh, yeah.
And You Ought to Know being about him.
Mr. Duplicity. Weird Al.
Love Weird Al.
Oh, you love Weird Al.
Love Weird Al.
What do you love about Weird Al? Tyler loves Weird Al too.
It's the nostalgia is like a huge piece of it, but I think he's a genius that has continued to do it, and he's just no one's ever done it as well. You know, he was just a master of the parody.
Do you just like him as a person and what he does, or would you actually sit there and listen to a whole album of Weird Al songs?
I don't think I would listen to a whole album.
Okay. But you can appreciate what he does.
Yeah, I have a huge appreciation for him.
Yeah, got it. Great hair too, speaking of.
Great hair, great jams.
Sting, Kevin Spacey, Flavor Flav.
Oh, wow.
Morrissey. And Fabio.
Interesting.
Who has better hair, Fabio or Weird Al?
Weird Al.
Okay, I would agree.
Remember when Fabio got hit by the bird on the roller coaster?
No.
You've never seen those pictures? I think it's been about 10 years now. Maybe longer, maybe 20. I think it's been 10 because I think it was
smashed into his face.
Yeah, broke his nose.
What?
He was on a roller coaster, like it went down a hill or like did a loop or something, and he hit a bird.
That's insane. insane.
And so we got back and his nose is broken. He's like covered in blood and feathers.
Oh,
There's pictures. I'll send them to
that
you.
sounds like a cartoon. That doesn't happen in real life.
No, really, I'd never forget. I would never forget it.
Okay.
The pictures, you've got to see them.
Gotta look that one up.
Yeah, so that's what I think of when I think of Fabio.
Okay, so I know we're spending a lot of time on this, so I'll quickly go through the songs of 71.
Oh, please.
Number 1, do you want to take a guess?
Is it Jackson 5?
No. Oddly, Jackson 5 was a little bit absent from this list. In 1970, remember, they were all over the charts.
It. Maybe there was an off year for them.
Yeah, but you know who was having an on year?
Diana Ross and the Supremes?
Possibly. But what I was going to say is the Carpenters and the Osmonds.
I love the Carpenters.
Yeah. So this was...
Do not love the Osmonds.
No.
Donny Osmond's love of electronics.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, we ever
no,
played
we
that
never
segment?
played that. Oh, you guys,
we edited it out.
We have like so many unaired hidden gems that I don't know if it'll ever see the light of day because there's just too much content. But
yeah, I mean, but short story is Donny Osmond loves electronics, and he made a whole electronic bedroom where everything was like moving up and down and like all robotic and like battery powered. He was really bragging about it in a teen magazine, but it really stressed me out because I knew that everything was breaking all the time.
Yes. Like, what if he was in his bed and it like raised up in the middle of the night and he couldn't get down?
Or it smashed him. That was how Donny Osmond died, but it was like like in a parallel universe, Donny Osmond's dead, and it's because he got smashed in between the ceiling and his electronic bed.
All right, so number 1, I'll tell you what it is. Joy to the World, 3 Dog Night.
Okay.
Not one of my faves.
It's just so silly.
Yeah, people like it.
It's so Schoolhouse Rock.
Number 2, Rod Stewart with Maggie May.
I have a funny story about that
Oh,
song.
bring it.
I love this song.
Yeah.
Wake up, Maggie, I think I got something to say to you. Anyways,
That was amazing.
I inherited a lot of tape cassettes when I was little. My aunt and uncle had gotten a CD player, and so I got like all the tapes. And there was one where it was like recorded over a tape of like Rod Stewart, but it was like my aunt like singing along with like Maggie May.
Wait, is this your aunt who lives in Piedmont?
Uh-huh.
That I've met? Oh, amazing.
Yeah, so it's just like weird and just like weird voices just like kind of over top.
Do you think she wanted to see what she sounded like? So this was her secret in-home karaoke tape?
I think it was just, like boom boxes and like there was like a lot of easy tape recording happening back then.
Mm-hmm. So now whenever you hear it, do you just hear your aunt's voice?
Yeah.
So good.
And Rod Stewart just cracks me up.
Yeah. Carole King was, this was her era. Mm-hmm. So number 3 was Feel the Earth Move.
Yeah.
Number 4, we got the Osmonds. I'm sorry, Allison.
Ugh.
One Bad Apple.
I don't even know any Osmond songs. I just hate them.
Yeah, ditto. Okay, moving on. Number 5, Bee Gees. How Can You Mend a Broken Heart?
How can you mend a broken heart?
There's a lot of like throaty vocals going on in this era.
Oh yeah, a lot of weird voices.
Number 7, I'm sorry, Donny Osmond's back with Go
Jesus
Away,
Christ.
Little Girl. But I love the title of that song.
Go away, little girl.
And then we have John Denver with Take Me Home, Country Roads.
It's a very white time.
Mm-hmm. The Temptations.
There we go.
Yeah. Just My Imagination. And then Janis Joplin, Me and Bobby McGee.
Oh, so she was still alive. Barely.
Yeah, she was another 27er, huh?
Mm-hmm. I feel like she was not around much longer than 71.
Yeah, I don't know what year she died.
Odds and ends.
Odds and ends.
Racking them up here.
And then this is our last segment on 1971.
Hit me.
We're talking about slang. We're talking about words. We're talking about etymology.
Oh.
So did you know that according to the internet, what slang word was most popular in the year you were born? So I looked up 1971. Do you know what it is?
Well, I want to see if we saw the same thing.
Should we say it at the same time?
Okay,
1, 2, 3.
Deadheads. Yep.
Okay.
And that cracked me up.
Yeah.
I think the funniest thing about it was that they were saying, like, oh, it's just a fad, like, it'll go away. But, like, meanwhile, the Grateful Dead were just, like, playing at Shoreline for, like, a week.
Right. They were just getting started.
I was in junior high for some reason. Grateful Dead t-shirts made a big comeback.
Oh, yeah. For me, I was in high school, so that was, like, the early to mid-90s.
Yeah.
I mean, 1977 and 1990 were the peak years for Grateful Dead.
So weird. The funniest thing, when I first moved out here, my two best friends from Ohio, Katie and Tyler, came to visit me, and they rode BART into the city. They rode BART in, and they were like, oh my God, Allison, you'll never believe who we saw on BART. I was like, who? And they were like, Jerry Garcia.
What?
And I was like, no, you didn't, because he's dead.
What year was this?
This is like 2005. And it was because there had been like a K-Fog ad with Jerry Garcia's face on the BART and a man that looked exactly like him, like sitting in front of it. And so they didn't even really know, much about him, but we're like, well, he's famous. Obviously, we saw him on BART.
Amazing.
I was like, if I had $1 for all the men that I've seen on BART that look like Jerry Garcia. So I always think of that.
Oh, I love it. There was some earnestness there. I can tell.
Genuine excitement.
Let's fucking dive into this book, shall we?
Let's do this.
But then again, maybe we won't.
But we will. Well, let me tell you about some of the characters. Our main character, Tony Miglione. He's a almost 13-year-old. He delivers newspapers. And he loves basketball.
Yeah.
These are all in order of appearance. Mm-hmm. Mrs. Gorski. She's a neighbor and she's a complainer. Yeah. We've got Ralph, who is Tony's older brother. He's a teacher of 7th grade social studies. We've got Mom, Carmela. She works in Newark, selling underwear at Orbox. And we've got Grandma, who is Mom's mom. And she's the family cook, and she can't speak. We'll get to that later. We've got Frankie Bellino and the crew. Big Joe, Little Joe, and Billy.
I love it.
But Frank Bellino is like the number one friend. He loves Grandma's cooking, and he treats her nice. He's a nice guy. We've got Angie, who is Tony's fat legs sister-in-law.
Old thunder thighs over there.
Old fat legs. Angie. And then we've got Dad, Vic. He's an electrician. We've got Mr. Fullerbach, who we'll talk about later. Yeah. Father Pizarro, but there's actually 2 Father Pizarros. So that's really important. And Mr. and Mrs. Huber, the fancy people we meet later. So that's what we got.
Can I ask you a favor?
Yeah.
Can you please read the first paragraph of chapter 1?
Oh, I'd love to. Who says March is supposed to come in like a lion and go out like a lamb? That's a lot of bull. All it's done this March is rain. I'm sick of it. Who is this guy?
Who is this sassy young man?
It's just Tony.
Tony Miglione with the animal wordplay. I just love how he says that's a lot of bull after the lion and the lamb references.
Oh,
very
my God.
clever. So what he's doing right now is he's walking around the neighborhood on his paper route delivering papers in the rain.
Yep.
So no wonder he's very grumpy. I would be too.
Oh my God. If I have to go out in the rain, I'm like the angriest person. And you got a lady yelling out her window at you.
Yoo-hoo, hello. Make sure to put my paper under the doormat.
Oh, do you think that's how she sounds?
Exactly how she sounds.
Hello.
Oh, I thought I was doing like a more aggressive voice.
I was more ethereal
Oh,
than you even knew.
remember, I'm a really bad actor. So she's on his case because she wants her paper placed under the doormat, but Tony's like, fuck that. It's raining. I am not going to put in any more effort than I have to.
He's like, call my boss.
Do what you got to do because I'm out of here.
I'm not doing that.
He walks away and he ignores her while she's still rapping on her window. He saunters off like the badass he is. I just love that intro page.
We got a good feel for Tony.
Mm-hmm. And then we also learned that he's super into basketball, like Alison said, and he's about to go into junior high, which is 7th grade in this instance. He's doing a lot of thinking. So we learn like little tidbits about him in this first few pages. He covets a bright red 10-speed Schwinn because he doesn't want to walk on foot to do his paper route. He wants a bike that actually works, unlike the hand-me-down that he currently has. And then he starts thinking about his family's money situation. You know, it would be a lot of money for them to buy him a new bike and save for college and all that stuff. So, you know, we get a bit of background about where he's coming from.
Very working class family.
They live in Jersey City in the suburbs. Ralph is his older brother, and he's a teacher at the junior high. And his wife, Angie, Big Legs Angie, is studying at the State Teachers College right here in town. And they live upstairs from Tony's family. And speaking of Tony's family, we get more about them. He lives with Mom and Pop. Pop. And his grandma. And like Alison said, she can't talk because she had cancer of the larynx and had to have it removed. Terrible.
So she just kind of gestures and writes things down.
Yeah, and mouths words silently to herself. How sad. But then we learn that she chose not to talk after her surgery because her option was to learn how to talk using the burp method.
And that's just glazed over. Like, it's no big deal that there's a way to talk where you can burp. So so many questions. All I could think of was like boys in 6th grade burping the alphabet. Oh, I burp speak all the time.
Can you do it?
I'd have to drink some soda.
Okay.
That was just a burp. But if you had any canned soda, I'll work on it.
Okay. I've tried and I can't do it. It's hard. It's definitely a skill.
Yeah, you have to practice belching. Because I didn't know how to do it until I had a friend that could really belch. And then once I let that belch freak flag fly, I got really good.
Well, I've done a little bit of research on the burp talk.
Tell me more.
When you have your larynx removed, that's your voice box. So obviously you're not going to be able to talk. So you have 3 options of communication after you have that surgery. Number 1 is esophageal speech. And that is the burp talk that Tony so blithely glossed over. So how it works is you take air into your esophagus like you're preparing to burp. And then you let it out, basically a burp. But the top of your esophagus vibrates to produce a burp-like sound. So it's not really a burp because it's not coming from your stomach. It's coming from just the top of your esophagus. And it's pretty difficult. Sometimes it can take up to 6 months of speech therapy to master this. You have to learn how to reform your lips and your teeth and your tongue to actually produce words. And I found some YouTube videos.
I was going to say, there's got to be something good out there.
And it actually doesn't sound as scary and horrible as I had pictured, but it's definitely weird. Do you want to know the second method of talking? I'm sure you know this one. This is the artificial larynx.
I was just going to say, is it the people with the voice box?
Yeah, the robot box.
Okay.
And there's 2 kinds. The one that you hold up to your neck, which is the one you usually see. And then there's one that it's like a little tube that goes into your mouth.
Right. I don't want to sound insensitive here, but you mostly hear this in like no smoking PSAs.
Right. It's true.
To really scare people.
Scared the shit out of me when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
But that didn't stop me from picking up smoking when I was in high school.
I wonder if Grandma was a big smoker.
Yeah, probably. This was that era. And then the third solution to a larynx removal is the tracheoesophageal puncture. And it's a prosthesis that is placed between your windpipe and your esophagus. So it's like the burp method, but you're not actually having to swallow that air. So you, to speak, are you trying to burp right now?
Yes.
Please keep trying as I'm talking.
Okay,
like just a little background noise.
On it.
So to speak, you take a deep breath and then you cover the stoma, which is the hole in your neck. So that when you exhale, your air is rerouted into the prosthesis and then it comes out your esophagus. And here's a fun fact. People who have had this larynx surgery, they call themselves Larrys.
No.
And they have clubs.
No.
Yes.
Well, I'm into that. More power to the Larrys.
Yeah, I mean, you got to find solidarity in your affliction because I'm sure it's very hard to manage after going through something like that.
Yeah, I'm glad that they've got something. They have each other, and they have 3 cool ways to speak.
Mm-hmm. But Grandma decided to just...
This is just the grossest podcast episode of all time because I can't get any good burps out, guys. They're like the weeniest burps.
Oh my god. That's amazing. So poor Grandma speaks by writing Italian, not in English.
Right.
So poor Tony can't really communicate with her because he doesn't read Italian.
Through Mom.
Yeah. He gets home after his paper route. He's relieved Mom isn't there to yell at him for getting his shoes wet. We learn about her selling ladies' underwear, and then we learn that Tony wonders what it's like to watch ladies trying on underwear all day long.
This quote is so good. I wonder what it's like watching ladies try on underwear all day. I'd really like to get a look at that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay. So he's already a little perv.
Oh, definitely. We just jump right into this. There's no
there's
subtle
no
lead
like
in.
I'm feeling feelings. It's like, nah, man, I'm trying to see ladies in their underwear, and I like Angie's thick thighs.
Yes, he's looking at his sister-in-law's thick, big legs. But even worse, his dad is the one that commented on her thick legs.
Have you ever seen the movie All the Real Girls?
No.
It's a good movie, actually, and there's a great scene. It takes place in the South. It's like a real hillbilly, and they're like telling someone, yeah, you, Rachel, you and your fat legs. so this made me think of that.
That sounds like something somebody would say in Gummo.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely of that, like, low budget, weird.
That's my favorite kind of movie.
Place. You would really like it.
Okay. That's on my list. And then we get some great advice about olives and how apparently they make you a good kisser. This is what Tony has been told. And we also get the first mention of wet dreams.
Big Joe's telling them all about the olives and the wet dreams. So we know what Big Joe's up to.
Yeah. This is new territory for us, Allison.
I'm already feeling weird.
But we're going in head first. So that night they sit down to a veal dinner. Veal and olives. Yum. And then Pop tells everyone that he's starting a new electrician gig downtown.
Yeah, he does contracts.
Yes.
So he's got like a 4-week gig downtown as an electrician. He's got his own truck.
With his name on the side.
Yeah.
And he sounds really pumped about this. The whole family's like, yeah, go Dad. So good for him. But then Ralph and Angie
drop a bomb.
Bigger news. Yeah. Angie is pregnant. And nobody's excited.
No one's excited. And Tony's like, what the heck? They're married. Like,
right.
What? Nobody thought they were doing it? And he's
Right.
like, now I have an excuse to think about them doing it.
Yes, he totally sits there at the dinner table and he's imagining them having sex, which is not the first time he's done that.
And then, but he is like, why is everybody upset? They're married.
Right, right.
You know? And they're like, we have no money.
Yes.
That's why we're upset.
Yes. And then Grandma writes something on a piece of paper in Italian. It has to be translated, and it says, we'll call him Vinny. So we learn who Vinny is. He is the other Miglione brother killed in Vietnam. So it must have been pretty recent.
So sad.
Yeah. But you can tell that the family really doesn't bring him up too much. It's probably too fresh, too raw. Yeah, this took place in 1971, so it must have been in the past, I don't know, few years. And then we fast forward a few weeks. Dad? Oh, did I forget something?
No, there's just a funny quote about Tony, asking why is everyone so upset about this baby? Why does everybody think babies are such an expense?
Oh, yeah.
They're very small. They hardly eat anything. and then Angie ran to the bathroom to puke.
Oh, yeah. I love
like,
that.
This is pretty real.
Oh, and probably puke and cry.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
So then a few weeks later, Dad has secluded himself in the basement workshop, and he's being very, very secretive.
Right. He invents things in his basement workshop, and no one really knows what these things are or what he's doing or takes them very seriously.
Mm-hmm. Mom even brings him sandwiches for supper so he doesn't have to come upstairs. He's very invested in whatever he's doing.
Right. All of a sudden, he's got a new lease on working in the workshop.
Yeah. But of course, Tony's 3 options for what could be happening are...
This is great.
Number 1, Pop is a secret agent. Plausible. Mm-hmm. Number 2, he's in trouble with the Jersey City mob. Mm-hmm. Or number 3, he has cancer like grandma.
Right. His dad's heading off into the city. And so, yeah, he thinks that it could be one of 3 different options. That's why he's wearing a suit and going to the city.
Yeah. And alongside of this, Mom and Ralph have both picked up extra shifts, extra jobs. But Tony's cool with that because he can watch TV whenever he wants and he can watch whatever he wants.
Yes, he's in pure 12-year-old fashion is completely selfish about the whole situation.
But the whole family's really rallying together because they're like, this baby's coming. We got to support it.
Right?
Got to make some money.
They say there's nothing like having a baby to motivate you to make more money. Like, you don't even realize you're doing it.
So then we come back to Dad. He's wearing his best suit every day. He's carrying a small metal box. And he's going to New York City all day long. And Tony's stressing. He's got
he's
like,
what the hell is
stomach
going on?
problems.
And no one will tell him. I know. He's going to get an ulcer.
Yes, that's exactly what I thought. Little baby ulcer. And then there's a whole part about he had experienced stomach problems in the past and he had gone to the doctor before and the doctor told him he's eating too much roughage. And he goes, I've never eaten roughage in my life. And then they explain, oh, that's just lettuce.
Right. Which is weird. I've actually never heard that as like a thing of like, don't eat as many greens.
Right. You would think that roughage has fiber. So fiber helps with, I don't know. This was 1971. Maybe they hadn't quite.
Weird times for gastroenterology.
The nutrition advice back then was so fucked up. Like, think of the nutritional pyramid that used to be.
That's true. I mean, that's like when they started telling people to not eat eggs.
And sugar was like sugar.
More sugar.
Yeah, basically. And then finally, we learn about, in the most roundabout way, we learn what has happened with Dad. He has invented something, and he has sold the idea to J. Fullerbach Electronics, and he's a freaking genius.
He's a freaking genius. Mom's like, he's such a genius. She's super
My
into it.
husband, ooh, she's gaga over
Yeah,
it.
she keeps like wanting to like kiss him. And he's like, I made a deal. And she's like, whoop. You're a genius. And so this is what's happening in their house. And Tony's still like, what the hell
He
is going
doesn't
on?
understand. He's like, I don't get it. So, and I kind of don't get it either. So apparently it's a cartridge
You know, just electrical cartridges.
that you plug into a device to wirelessly transmit power. And I mean, I know Tesla invented this back in the day and it failed because I don't think it was super viable for consumer electronics. So I don't know how this is suddenly a thing in 1971.
Yeah, they're basically like, you made a battery? And he's like, no, it's an electrical cartridge. So it's not clear.
Okay.
I think it's a rechargeable battery.
I was under the impression that it's wireless electricity.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to ask Judy when we see her.
Yeah. When we go to Key West.
What really matters is that the Migliones are going to be rich.
What this really means is money.
Yes, cha-ching. So after some negotiations, Pop makes the deal and actually gets hired at J. Fullerbach as a plant manager in Queens, and they're going to call it Fullerbach Miglione Engineering Corporation.
Yeah, that's wild. So they've bought the invention. They're going to pay him to like run this factory, and he's there to invent more things. He's going to get paid more and more money.
Yeah. It seems like a sweet deal.
All in Queens.
But I feel like it seems too good to be true. I don't know. The skeptical side of me is like, is this legit?
Oh, totally. And I think Tony feels the same way.
Yeah, he does. Because we got to remember, you know, his dad up until now has just been a contractor. He drives a truck around. He works for himself. They've been living very meager lives. And suddenly he's like a vice president or plant manager. But to Tony's dismay, he learns that they have to move to Long Island, to Rosemont, which I guess is a neighborhood or a suburb of Long Island. He has to leave all his friends behind. He's not going to go to the middle school or the junior high that he thought he was going to.
He's not going to be able to be on the basketball team.
Yes. And then he quietly locks himself in the bathroom. And I don't have the book in front of me. So, Alison, would you mind reading the part about him crying in the bathroom? I thought it was kind of sweet and sad.
What's the matter, Tony? My mother asked. The kid's excited, Ralph said. Can't you see? The kid's just so excited. Why not? My mother asked. How many kids have a genius for a father?
Oh!
I don't cry anymore. I'm too old for that baby stuff, which is why I ran from the bathroom and locked myself in. I cried really quiet, not like Angie, who does it so loud everyone knows.
He's a sensitive boy.
Do you think Angie was crying in the bathroom before she was pregnant?
It sounds like it.
Sounds like she's dramatic.
Mm-hmm.
So they finished the school year in Jersey City. And Tony hasn't really told his friends what's going on about the move or the invention. And, you know, they get a house in Rosemont, and Mr. Feuerbach's arranged everything.
Did you get, like, Devil's Advocate vibes?
Oh, totally. That actually makes a lot of sense. He's Al Pacino, and Tony's dad is Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. And so Mom, Dad, and Tony, they head on a drive to Rosemont. Dad, again, just like Uncle Walter, doesn't look at the road and talks to people the whole time he's driving. So we get this like dangerous men driver theme that is occurring in Judy's books.
Judy's definitely had experience with that.
Yeah. It takes an hour and a half to get to Rosemont from Jersey City. They pull up to this big white house with a circular driveway, and Tony's like, it's a lot of grass.
Yeah.
How much land is here? And Tony's dad's like, there's an acre. And Tony's like freaking out a little bit, but turns out they can hire a gardener. They're rich.
But not only is the gardener coming, but Jay Fullerbach hooked them up with a gardener.
Oh, yeah.
This just seems weird to me.
Yeah. This like rich man taking care of Vic Miglione. Something weird here. They're going to move in. Somebody's still living there, but they're going to move in on July 20th. So Tony figures out he's going to be spending his 13th birthday in Rosemont. So they go by the church in Rosemont, and their pastor at their church in Jersey City's cousin, also Father Pissarro, works at the church in Rosemont. And, you know, they explain that Tony had pneumonia when he was little, so he's, like, a little bit older. And Tony's like, okay, thanks a lot. We learn a little bit there. And then we also learn that Vic's getting a new car. Yes. Of course, J.W. Fullerbach has leased this car for him. He does this for all of his executives. And Tony notes that his dad is really drawing out executives. He's feeling very fancy. They get the car the next week. It's a dark green hardtop with stereo speakers. What does it mean? I have like an idea in my head, but
it's probably what you're thinking. It's that like classic kind of 1970 car look where it almost looks like it's a convertible, but like the top is like kind of like fabric-y looking, but it's not. It's hard. It's
Oldsmobiles and Cadillacs and stuff like that kind of had them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, my grandma and my dad's parents had one like that. I remember it was like their fancy car.
It's a hard top.
And I threw up in it on a road trip. But then they always talked about later how they had to sell it because they never really got the smell.
Oh no.
But that's how they were. You know, make you feel really bad about getting car sick.
Forever and ever.
Tony's friends come to check out the new car and they're like, okay, something is going on. And then he tells them, you know, the cat's out of the bag. He's like, we're moving. We're going to Rosemont. There's money now. And, you know, all that. And Tony realizes that there have been all kinds of rumors. That Vic Miglione won some money at the races. Or
he's in the mob.
He's in the mob. And so, like, there are all these rumors as to how they got this money so quickly. Which is pretty funny. And Ralph lets Tony know that they're going to move to Queens, actually. Angie and Ralph are. They're not going to move in with them on Long Island. And Ralph has a new job working at a school in Queens. And then everyone moves. And the best part about the move is that they actually don't take anything with them. They have like the fanciest move of all time where they're like, we'll get all new things, leave it.
That was so weird. But I think you get a sense of how strange the mom is.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, we're not bringing anything old with us. The only old things they're bringing are like grandma's pots and pans.
Right.
And this little pendant that Tony has from the junior high.
Yeah.
But I mean, The mom seems very like keeping up appearances.
Oh,
kind of
she's
style.
ready to just like dish it all and go with all the fancy new furniture and all the fancy new clothes and forget about their life in Jersey City. She's over it.
Do you think maybe this has to do with the death of her son, Vinny?
I think it does, actually. I think it's about making these new memories, whether she may be able to admit that to herself or not.
Deep thoughts.
Tony has his goodbyes with Frankie, who has inherited his paper route. And Frankie gives Tony a British dollar. I would say it was just a sterling.
That's when the Brits moved over to the decimal-based currency rather than the weird, like, halfpennies and farthings.
Pence?
And, no, they still have pence. My parents used to, like... I just remember them reminiscing about back in the day at school. They had to learn all the weird shit. Like there's 20 shillings in a pound, 4 farthings in a penny, 12 pennies in a shilling, 240 pennies in a pound. Like how fucking confusing. So then they switched over to everything being based on 100. And anyway.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And Tony gives Frankie the pennant that he was actually just holding. He's kind of like, oh, you gave me something. I should give you something. And it was Vinny's Jefferson Junior High pennant.
Oh, I was kind of sad he gave that away.
No. But Frankie does seem like such a good friend.
Yeah. He'll take good care of it.
Yeah. At the new house, Tony has his own bedroom with his own ensuite bathroom. There are actually 5 bathrooms in this house.
Yes.
Hella bathrooms.
Because they just had one before.
Right. They just had one for the whole family. His closet has a light in it, just like Nancy Wheeler.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
The funny little themes that Judy, hangs on to is that when you have a fancy house, you have a light in your closet that turns on automatically, and when you close the door, it turns off. So he sits there for like 10 minutes, opening and closing the door. I loved it. And Tony can see from his room that the next door neighbors have a pool. And it's not just any pool. It's one of the really big pools with a statue and a diving board. Sounds wild.
And no one ever uses it.
No one ever uses it. And so Tony's like, okay, we are rich now.
Yeah.
If our neighbors have a pool like that.
Yeah.
But again, he's worried it's not going to last. And, it'll be embarrassing to have to move back to Jersey City in 6 months.
What a burden for a young man.
Yeah, I'm glad though. Like, I feel like he's moving at a good time where he's going to be able to hang on to like his working class sensibilities, but also like appreciate that they have this new life. Grandma is not happy about the electric stove and oven. She's like, I can't control the temperature with this shit. And they're like, you don't have to control the temperature. Like, this is so fancy and new, and like, don't even worry about it. And she's like, this kitchen's crazy. Tony creeps around outside in the mornings. He like gets up early, just starts like walking around. And he's like trying to make friends, but there's no kids anywhere.
This ain't Jersey City where you can probably sit on your porch and people will come up to you.
Yeah. And so after a few days, he meets Mrs. Huber, the next door neighbor, on her way to a golf outing at the country club. She lives in the swimming pool house. And he also learns that all the kids are at camp. These fancy rich kids are all at camp, or they're on vacation and like at the summer houses. Maybe they're in the Hamptons.
Probably.
It's right there. And later, Mrs. Huber asks Tony about all the work they must be having done on their house. She's like, there's a truck always in your driveway. And he's like, it's my dad's truck. She's like so confused as to why these new neighbors in fancy Rosemont would have a truck. And so he tells his parents that. And they're so embarrassed. His dad goes out like the next day and gets a new car, a new Ford.
That blew my mind. But I feel like it was the mom who was more embarrassed. And I feel like they probably had like a very terse conversation. Like,
the horror.
Vic, you have to get rid of that truck. Because then she said something the next day like, oh, I'm glad you made the right decision.
Yeah, so this is like an interesting, where it's a big shift happening in this family. And then it's August 5th. It's Tony's birthday.
Oh, yeah.
He's 13 now. And he's like, well, I would think that my family getting rich and like getting a new house and everything is like plenty of present. Like, I don't expect anybody to really be doing anything for me this year. Very sweet. But his dad picks him up and he takes him and he gets him that red 10-speed Schwinn he's been eyeing.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, oh my God, this is the best birthday ever.
Yeah.
And that's where we ended. So big shifts happening, big cultural shifts in this whole family's life. A new baby on the way, a new job, just a whole new world. It's going to be a new school, new friends.
And they're all dealing with it differently. I feel like there's gonna, I don't know, some kind of rift is gonna come about. Like, the mom definitely seems like she's gonna try to fit in with the ladies of the suburb.
Oh yeah, there's gonna be some huge conflicts in terms of how Tony's family fits in. Mm-hmm. His mother's expectations, like how she feels they should be living now, the reality of like what their family's actually like.
Yeah.
And then all the while, Tony's like having wet dreams. It's going to be wild. I'm pumped.
I think there's going to be so many wet dreams.
So many. I want there to be so many wet dreams.
So, a couple things that we need to mention. Tony's bedroom looks over the backyard of the Mrs. Huber's house.
Mm-hmm. He can see the swimming pool.
I think we know that there's going to be some spying, some peeping Tom action going on. And do you think
there's like a hot swimmer?
I think there's a hot teenage swimmer away at camp.
Oh, it's not Mrs. Hooper.
Oh, it could be like Mrs. Robinson kind of thing.
Yeah.
It totally could be. I just assume that they have kids that are away at camp.
They do. They have 2 kids that are away, but we haven't really heard anything about them yet.
Okay. So, yeah, I think the swimming pool backyard is going to come back into play.
Uh-oh.
Wet Dream City.
My best friend Tyler, the house behind her, like new people moved in when we were in like 7th or 8th grade. And they put in a pool, and we like snuck in one night and like jumped in the pool. And then it turned out there were like 2 teenage boys living there who were like, hi,
welcome to my pool.
So then it was like a summer of like weird pool times.
Ooh.
Nothing weird happened. Like, it was just like awkward.
Yeah.
Because it's a weird thing to be going through puberty and also wearing bathing suits around the opposite sex.
That is true. That is true. Yeah, I think actually, because we had a pool when I was younger, and then when we moved away and I was like in 7th grade, I actually didn't even hang out with that many boys for a while. I went to an all-girls school and like didn't know any boys. This was in Australia. And then I moved back to Dallas, and then at that point, like, we were all like fully fledged teenagers, and like, there wasn't like the awkwardness going on. It was more like, oh, let's flirt in the pool. I don't think I ever experienced that like pubescent kind of weirdness.
Very weird. Speaking of all-girls schools in Australia, was it like Summer Heights High?
Love that show so much.
Jamai.
It was like a different setting, but there's certain things they did and like the terminology they use. Like, they have sausage sizzles. Like, all about the sausage sizzles.
I really want to have a whole episode about the slang you heard in the other countries.
Oh, yeah. Oh, the Aussies, they have like amazing slang. Sorry, guys. We had to leave the window open because it's so hot, but you're hearing a lot of street noise.
Dirt bikes.
Oakland.
Dirt bike city.
I would love to actually hear from someone who currently lives there, because the slang I remember is probably really 90s. Probably not the most current or accurate.
So come at us, Aussie Bloomheads.
Yeah. And there are a couple. Do you know that New Zealand Bloomheads are our second widest listenership?
What?
Outside of the U.S.?
I don't know anybody in New Zealand.
We have a couple.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You guys should write us. bloomsaloon@gmail.com.
Great segue.
We haven't called that out in a little while, but write us a letter. Especially, people from all over. We'd love to hear from you. Friends that we've maybe seen recently who keep telling me they're going to write a letter and they haven't written a letter. You should write a letter too.
Now's the time. Our website is thebloomsaloon.com.
That's right.
Please leave us a review and a rating on iTunes or Apple Podcasts if you haven't already. It makes a big difference to us.
And thank you to Tyler Barber for our theme song.